Alright, folks, what is going on? Welcome to another episode of Megaman's Legends. And today's episode, I have myself probably a really cool person. Really cool guy, Midwest legend of himself, right? Known as the Midwest Fei Long to multiple people. And obviously, me and him grown really, we became like really close friends. Like, we had our battles, and it was kind of memorable. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Jigglynorris on the comms. What's up, my brother?
What's up, man? Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it. It means a lot.
It means a lot. It means a lot that you are on this episode, man. Like, I know I told you about it before, and I know you expressed like very high interest. So I said to myself, I'm like, yeah, you definitely have to be on an episode for sure. So I know you have like a lot of lore to kind of spill, because you had your adventures, you had your tournament stints, you had your tournament runs, but I figured nobody really asked you in terms of, nobody asked you for the story or the lore or anything like that. So yeah, I'm hella interested to know in terms of, what do you have to say and everything. So I appreciate you being on, bro.
I mean, oh, thanks. I appreciate that. I mean, like, shit, where do I start with that? Should I start like in the beginning, or like Street Fighter beginnings?
Let's start from the beginning. So tell me, what got you into gaming in the first place?
Well, so I was born in '91. I'm turning 33 in December. And growing up, I had two older brothers, and I grew up with a Super Nintendo. Okay, and my earliest memory that I have, I think I was like fucking like 2, 3, 4, around that. It's a little hazy thinking back that far, but I remember being like in a guarded, it wasn't in a crib, it was like a guarded bed, and I was watching my brother play the first Star Fox for the Super Nintendo, right? And I was watching that, and I remember being a kid, like, people was dilated, like I was on some kind of drug, you know what I mean? Like, watching that. And like, he left the room, crawled out of the crib, or the guarded bed, and then I crawled over to the SNES and I started playing, messing around on the did you play that game before? You know how you got like the test control screen in the beginning of it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was messing around with that, and my father walked in and picked me up and he put me back in the bed, and I was all defeated about that because I was like really into it. But that's the earliest I could think of. It's like probably my first memory was like playing that, and I remember being a kid, and my mom renting me Megaman X2 from Blockbuster.
Ooh.
And yeah. And I remember distinctly that she sat me down next to her, and I popped in the game, and they put an instruction booklet in that case from Blockbuster on how to play the game. And she was reading it, and she showed me how to charge up a shot. Changed my life, man. Literally, that probably right there cemented like the trajectory of my life. Right there was doing my first charge shot in Mega Man X2. And like, I don't know what it is, man. I mean, your name is Mega Man X. You could probably relate to like the amount of dopamine that comes with every single charge shot you do in that game. It's just so satisfying.
It's hella satisfying.
It's so satisfying.
It's very satisfying, man. I mean, the first Mega Man I played was definitely Mega Man 2 for the NES, and basically, it was like one of those games that I'm like, man, you had your, it's like you had your platformers, right? You had your platformers like Super Mario Brothers, Sonic the Hedgehog, but it's like, I feel like the Mega Man games is like one of those games that, okay, it's like a platformer, but it's like really expert level platforming. And I'm like, I have yet to beat that game, by the way, but still, I have usually like kind of enjoy playing it, but I would rage because it was too hard. So
you never beat Mega Man 2?
I have yet to beat Mega Man 2. I have to it's on the list, honestly. It really is. It's kind of shameful.
I don't know how far you got, but one of the Wily levels, you gotta take down this boss with I think the mine.
Yes.
And if you don't have enough of those mines, you just can't beat the boss.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, I think it's a great game. In my opinion, that's some kind of bad game design, but I kind of give it a pass because, you know, the game came out like such a long time ago, so it's just kind of like, kind of experimental. But
that's good.
But so that was me playing Megaman X, and then I don't know how they got a hold of it, man. My older brothers got a hold of the World Warrior for the SNES.
Right.
I remember watching. I couldn't play it, man. I was like 5. I didn't know what I was doing, you know. But I was watching them, and there's some foggy memories, but I clearly remember the first time they saw Vega or Claw, you know. But the first time they saw him, and they were like baffled about how fast he was. And this is on World Warrior, so like that game is slow. So he was like exceptionally faster than the rest of the roster. And then I remember Sagat and M. Bison. And I remember playing with them when I was a kid, and kind of getting smoked by them and just kind of having fun, not really messing with it too much. And I'm gonna be honest with you, man, I didn't think very much of the game as a kid. And as the years went on, I'll mess around with it and screw around with it, but I never thought much of it. I didn't think much of it until like 2006, 2007. I started getting into emulation a little bit, and I downloaded ZSNES, and I was messing around with that emulator, and I downloaded Hyper Fighting, right? Because I never had it growing up. I was like, I remember seeing it, but I never actually had it. And I was messing around with the speeds and whatnot. I was messing around with the boss characters, and I thought it was really cool. And this is up when YouTube was coming out, like 2006. It was like when it started becoming more mainstream. And I saw this guy post. It might even still be on YouTube now. He posted this video of him doing a playthrough with Balrog Boxer, and it said no round lost. And I was like, what? I was like, he sucks. Who's doing that? And I watched it, and it was like another one of those pivotal moments where like it just changed my life, because I saw him do like a 4-hit combo, and I didn't even know you could do that in that game. He was, I think it was like jumping fierce, crouching short, standing short, rushing upper, and that was his go-to on like everything. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I thought the only combo in the game was like Shoto, jump roundhouse, crouch roundhouse, and that was it,
Right.
But I saw that, and it was, I just didn't know, I didn't know you could do that. And then once I figured that out, I was like, well, wait, if he can do this, what else can everyone do? I'm like, wait, so that means Gao can combo a Sonic Boom, and he could. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wait, does that mean he can combo a Flash Kick? And he could. And I was like, wait a minute, man. Wait a minute, this is like a whole new game right now. And I saw that, Ryu could combo the fireballs and so on and so forth.
Was this like...
It was tough, man.
So here's a question for you about that, because I know for a fact you said you saw like a video on this. Was this like, I would probably think besides World War you played like Hyper Fighting, right? So did you see like early VODs of like Tomohiro in terms of
I didn't know who that was at the time. I didn't know anything about it, man. Right. I was just kind of messing around, and then I didn't know, like literally I knew zero about it. And it was just me messing around.
I see.
Yeah, and then like I ended up going down like this giant wormhole, and then I saw that there was like the new challengers, and I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know there was a new challengers. I didn't know there was a whole Super Turbo. I didn't know any of that. And because of YouTube, the algorithm was becoming a thing, and it started recommending me videos on related content, and I found out about Fei Long and T-Hawk and Cammy and DJ. Watched the movie. I went through like this whole phase of my life, man, where I was just going crazy with it, and it was really cool. And then I found out about Super Turbo. And the way I found out about Super Turbo is one of the first fights I watched was a Kusumondo video. Right. And I forgot who he was fighting, but he was fighting on Guile stage in Super Turbo. And I knew it was a different game two ways. Number one, the Guile theme sounded incredible. I mean, it was just like it was like dopamine all over my ears, man. It was crazy hearing that theme from Super Turbo. And then I saw how like the animations, how clean the animations were, and I was like, man, these animations look a lot better than the Super Nintendo version. Like, where are they playing this on? And then it's the arcade, and this is when I found out there was an arcade version of Street Fighter. I did not know. I never knew that it actually came from the arcade. I always thought it was a Super Nintendo game.
So it's funny about that. Obviously it derived from New Challengers. And New Challengers, it's funny that you spoke about New Challengers, because technically that was besides hyper fighting, but it was because I saw hyper fighting on the SNES, but I never really played it. But my first Street Fighter I've played is definitely like New Challengers on the Sega Genesis. So it was like
that was your first one.
That was my very first one, and that's when I discovered obviously with the normal characters. Besides that, because before that was a thing, I used to watch the crappy Street Fighter cartoon when it was on Fox 5 at the time being. So
I remember that as a kid.
So basically, I watched that before I even say, let me just hop into, New Challengers. And I remember New Challengers, I was playing with my uncle. He used to beat my ass a lot because I was handicapped. He would have the 6 button. He would have the Sega Genesis 6 button, and I was stuck with the 3 button. And then I didn't.
Wait.
Yeah.
So he gave you the 6 button knowingly. He had the 6 button knowingly, and he gave you the 3 button controller.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Man, that's bogus.
It sucks. It sucks.
Oh, that's bogus, man.
I know, it was terrible because he would tell me. He would tell me that it worked, and I'm like, bro, I can't punch. I can't. There's the time that I only had kicks, and I'm like, how the hell this even happened? I'm looking at this controller, and I'm like, oh, well, I've come to find out years later is that the only way that you get to kind of switch between that is you have to kind of hit start, and then it kind of changes the punches and kicks within that. So I did not know that until I was grown up, basically. But
oh man, I don't know how you took that, but I would. If that happened to me when I was a kid, I would have cried.
I did cry, but in front of him, I did cry, but in front of him, I couldn't do it. I have to be a man about it, at a young age. I mean, he was on that note, but I'm just saying, I was on that note, he was just he was the one that kind of got me into fighting games in the first place. So,
no kidding, really?
Yeah, I owe it to him in terms of getting me into that. So, it's kind of funny how that worked out. But
it's always family, man. You owe it to your uncle, I owe it to my brothers for you planting that seed.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember being a kid and messing. I say that I didn't think much of it, but I was a kid and I was bored and I would play those games. And I remember I had such a hard time beating Sagat and M. Bison when I was a kid. I wanted to get all the endings for the whole roster. And I just could not get Dawson's roster. Dawson as a kid, I just couldn't comprehend that design, man. And I remember making it somehow to M. Bison as a kid with Dawson, and he beat me. And I cried to my mom, and she was just like, "What's wrong? Why are you crying? What happened?" And I was like, I tried beating M. Bison, and he beat me, and I want to get all the endings and. But I'm sure you can relate to this, that was kind of just that level of competitive, wanting to get that dub so bad, ended up feeding into where you're at today with playing Zangief,
Yeah. I mean, I know that for sure. It's kind of funny because during the early days, I didn't really main that man. I mean, I mained him maybe 2017. The whole time
who did,
Yeah, who did? I mean, at the time, you had your few that did, but it's I would just bounce it around between characters because I like the game so much. But okay, so tell me this, right? Now you discovered ST, right? You discovered ST, and basically you had a passion for the game. Now, what my question is for you during the ST phase, what got you into Fei Long? Because I know that's your main, but what got you into like saying, yo, this is my character right here?
Dude, that is such a story, man. Like, that is like, man, I gotta figure out how to begin on that one. So when I started playing Super Turbo, I found out about ZSNES on the Super, that emulator, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that led into MAME, figuring out how that works, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I always like the new challengers. I don't know if this is gonna like kind of make sense, but I always liked new challengers because I felt like that was kind of like my generation. Like the older generation is like Ryu, Ken, you know, it's also me, Honda, and then the new generation was like people who like, you know, like still that generation that played Street Fighter, but like the kids who were growing up kind of identified more with the four newcomers, you know. Like obviously it's not really true. It's just how I was looking at it back then. So I started playing T-Hawk a lot, man, and I still have a T-Hawk. You fought my T-Hawk at CE 2019 during casual, so I really enjoy T-Hawk. I remember seeing his dive, and I thought that was just the craziest shit because like I couldn't imagine a move working that way in Street Fighter, much less a grappler having a move that gets him in instantly. You know, I thought it was really cool design. So I started messing around with T-Hawk a lot and having a lot of fun and trying to figure out that like, you know, like, oh my god, you can actually do the 360 on the ground. Like it's hard as hell, but you can do it.
Right.
And I started playing him more, and then HDR came out, and I had just gotten a 360 that Christmas, and I downloaded HDR, and that game just completely took over my life, man. Like my parents would get so pissed about how much I'd play that game, and I played him a lot in that game, and I really enjoyed his style in that game, and I really enjoyed just how like, you know, he still wasn't very good, quote unquote, but I had a lot of fun with him, man. And we'll talk about it more in a little bit. But some of the first few locals I went to, I played with T-Hawk, and I felt really confident with him. But as things progressed, the one thing I wanted to do with T-Hawk that I couldn't do is I wanted to go in there and I wanted to do some fucking damage, you know?
Right.
And now you may be saying, you know, well, Jiggly, like, T-Hawk has the SPD, and his SPD is actually stronger than Geef's, and I'm like, well, that's true, it is, but once he does the SPD, he can't stay in, it puts him out, you know. And the way you approach now, like all these years later, is you're supposed to walk up, standing neutral jab, and another throw, and I just wasn't cool with that, man. I wanted more guaranteed damage, and I wanted someone who could stay in there. Now, in a game like ST where you can dizzy someone off of just seizing on them, a lot of people can do that. I started messing around with Dictator for that reason. But I wasn't a big fan of how easy it was to pressure him. And I just, something wasn't clicking, man. You know, it's like if your gut's telling you something, listen to your gut. And I'll still mess with him to this day, but so I always thought Fei Long was kind of a joke character because of the way he's always screaming and stuff, you know.
Right.
I never took him very seriously. And then one day I remember like in 2009, 2010, when I started actually playing, I went back and played ST more on GGPO. I started messing around with Fei Long, and I was just like really into the fact that his chicken wing was so hard to do. And I was like, I remember the old Sterling articles about how he was making it a big deal to like change that move's motion, and it was like a whole debate at the time between ST Fei Long and HDR Fei Long. And once I played him and I did my first chicken wing combo, I was just like, oh, this is why people were mad. This is why people were upset that Fei Long got that change. And I remember practicing jumping medium kick, crouching jab, fierce rekkas, and doing that combo. It took me a minute to get that combo down, but once I got it, it led into like, it was kind of like a bigger version of, you know, when I found out about the boxer combo that I told you I found out about on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Once I figured that out, it just led into this giant wormhole figuring out Fei Long, man. Then I found out that no one uses him. And then I found out that he was bottom tier, and I just wasn't seeing it, man. I was like, dude, this guy is like really good. Like, I got it that he has trouble with some matchups. Because of his hitbox, he has trouble against fireball characters. But I just, I kind of just brushed it out. I didn't really listen to any of it, man. I kept playing it and playing it and playing it. And that whole time, I really wanted to go to a tournament and prove my worth. But I was a kid. I didn't have the money at the time. It was like mostly in like my early 20s, where like just going to a tournament, like a big major for Super Turbo, just was not in the books for me, man. And But I always kept it there. It was always a hobby of mine, just to keep it up with Fei Long. And then when Logan Arcade opened up here in 2015, I went there, and I met the rest of the Chicago ST guys, and they were all like baffled, because it was like a lot of those guys were like in their infancy still. Like they knew the game, but they had never like really played the game like on that level. And then here I came in there like a fucking meteor, and I was like playing them all. And that really helped it grow, really helped the inspiration grow, because I didn't realize what I had at the time. And then they were just like wide-eyed, like, who the hell are you? And it, that was kind of some incentive to keep on going, because I didn't know what I had until I got like, like in-person, like the in-person recognition for it, because everything had to be done online, And the only thing I'd gotten told online is for people to tell me to go kill myself, and like, saying they're going to come find me and kick my ass on HDR.
Oh man, so yeah. That's quite a story about that, man. I mean,
bit of a two ways you didn't read. Yeah. There's a lot more than that, man. But I really tried to get the meaty parts in there.
Well, I appreciate that for sure, man.
Yeah. So
okay, you discovered basically Logan Arcade. You met up with everybody.
Oh, hey, wait. Let's back up here for a minute here, man. How'd you get into Geef the way you do?
Oh, so it's kind of funny. I at first played Ken, and I remember during a time being I was like, very heavily into wrestling. So during the time when I was like into wrestling, watched a lot of WWF, early days of New Japan wrestling and everything. So I was just like. Yeah. I was just like saying to myself, I remember one day I was at Next Level, and I had a friend of mine's. He at the time he was like talking about it. He was like, "Bro, we was talking about wrestling and everything like that." And so happens that Super Turbo was right there. He was telling me, "Bro, he was like telling me, now that I think about it, he's like, why don't you you play Geef?" And I'm like. I never really thought about that, because, I was like always the type of guy that likes a lot of babyface characters, and I was like under the impression during the time that, because I was watching a lot of the Street Fighter V at the time, and that was on I forgot what the hell channel that was the anime version of Street Fighter. But that was
great show, by the way.
It really is. Really great show.
Yeah, I remember I watched it before YouTube became monetized. When I was going down my rabbit hole, I found that show. And before YouTube became all monetized, I used to just binge that show every weekend, man. It was so cool. Especially the Vega arc was really good.
Yeah, it was really good. Really good episodes. I would recommend anybody who's listening to this episode, definitely watch that anime. Yeah. It was really good.
Just for the intro alone, if anything, man.
Oh yeah, love it.
Oh, absolutely sick.
So basically afterwards, I was like, all right, it kind of makes sense. Let me just go ahead and main Geef and play him, right? So during the time, I saw the instructions on how to just perform some stuff, and then I'm like to myself, okay. At the time being, I kind of defaulted into just mashing buttons at the time. I didn't know exactly how to perform a proper 360 and everything like that, but I didn't know how to lariat, so it kind of worked out. So I was like, I remember one time, I think I did an empty jump 720 and I didn't know it. And I'm like, oh, this is my character. And I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is it right here.
It was like that Mega Man chart shot moment that you had.
Exactly. So I went to myself, yeah, this is it. I'm like, yeah, this is it. I gotta get good with him. So
I got a feeling we're gonna be using that analogy a lot more for this episode, man.
oh yeah, absolutely. But since then, I feel like it's kind of funny because that character really changed my perspective in regards about everything. In regards about playing, playing ST, life, and everything like that. Because it's like he's like one of those characters that there's no apps. There's like, okay, you have your 360 shortcuts, but matchup wise, there's like zero shortcuts whatsoever. So you have to like really, with him, he's like one of those characters, like I would say like Fei Long as well. Like you have to put the time into those characters, because you don't put the time in, you're gonna get like washed pretty easily. So
100%, man.
So he's like one of those characters. I'm like, man, he really changed my perspective. I'm like, it taught me better. I mean, at the time, it's like it taught me better how to work hard, just try to like, be focused. Also just like basically making me like a really better person in life, to be honest with you. So it's just like
really, it impacted like your life in general. You're saying
it did, because like I said, it kind of overflowed into it, because I kind of I learned a lot in terms of like doing hard work, and basically I learned to stop blaming. Whenever I was like sort of melodramatic growing up at times. I mean, I was smart, but I was like the type of person that if nothing really goes my way, I tend to like blame things on other people instead of knowing for the fact that I am responsible for my own actions. So with Geef, he was like one of those characters that he made me realize that I am responsible for what I do.
You really are. That's a good. I never thought about it that way. That's a really good way of putting it, man.
Yeah. So basically, I just like said to myself, you know what? No more blaming others for my own faults. I'm like, when I lose with them, I'll be like, you know what? All right. I know for a fact I made the mistake, so I need to learn that I just have to get better. That's plain and straight. There's no like, further explanation in terms of it or anything like that. I just said to myself, I just have to learn to get better. That's literally all I gotta do, and just improve.
That's kind of what I like about ST a lot, even to this day. Like, it has its bullshit, like the whole claw dive loop, but without some like glaring exceptions. I know some people get turned off from the game because of all the wacky stuff that it has, but for the most part, at the end of the day, like, once you learn the game, if you lose, it really is your fault, man. Especially at a high level. There's always, like, some things can be really hopeless, like, like Geef versus Cammy or Geef versus Honda. I know those are both really bad matchups for Geef. They can be struggles, man, but if you can just really keep it together and maneuver your way in there, they are still winnable. May not seem like it is, especially when Honda's just sitting there holding down back the whole time. But, what you said about owning up to your consequences and not have anything handed to you, I kind of took that going from T-Hawk to Fei Long, because T-Hawk has it the same way, man. Unless you learn how to Sako Tick, but Sako Tick wasn't a thing in HD Remix, and taking that to Fei Long, it really helps me a lot. It helped the transition a lot, because he doesn't have any grappling, but he's just you gotta be so confident about what you're doing. And if your confidence and your passion wavers, you're gonna lose that fight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's funny. The funny thing about T-Hawk, a lot of folks always ask me why I don't main T-Hawk, and personally,
they're not the same character at all, man.
No, they're not. And it's like I feel like with T-Hawk, well, people would say like, yeah, T-Hawk is pretty much the better grappler in a way, because once you learn how to Sako Tech and everything like that, I mean, he has a DP and all that stuff. I mean, personally, I feel, well, in terms of matchup wise, I feel like, you know, T-Hawk Geef, it's like, I feel T-Hawk wins it. Not by much.
Really? No
Yeah,
kidding.
I think so. I mean, it's more along the lines of, I feel like, well, I'll explain later about that. When we get into that, the next section, we'll explain about that. But
Okay.
the last question I have for you, right, in terms of that. So, what was your first tournament that you attended?
So my first tournament that I went to was like some little local here in Chicago at this place called Screens, and it's not around anymore, but it was like one of those like internet cafes.
Mm-hmm.
And like in the basement there, I saw on srk.com, rest in peace, shoryukin.com, good times. In the basement there, they had like some get together that was advertised on srk.com, and I was like begging my dad to take me, so he took me. He dropped me off, and it was like some local for HDR. It ended up being like some 12-man tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my first time seeing like a tournament, man. This is like FGC infancy. Like Street Fighter 4 hadn't even come out yet, man. And I was down there and I was seeing they were playing Melee, they were playing Naruto, they were playing Guilty Gear X, and Core. And you know, we're over here playing HDR. And I remember I took second. And I lost because they were playing on the PS3 version, and I wasn't playing on a stick at the time. I was playing on a 360 pad, so I had to go from a 360 pad to a PS3 pad, and I just couldn't execute, man. I just lost, and that was the slap in the face that I needed. That I had to learn how to play on a stick, which is another wormhole. Yeah, that was my first tournament that I had. I know the first few tournaments that I went to were all little locals around here that were advertised on srk.com, and that was the seed that was planted to start learning how to play on a stick.
I see. All right. Well, that's a good interesting part for your introduction.
Little baby steps, man.
Baby steps indeed. All right.
Little baby steps.
Let's go into the next phase, right? Let's talk about your adventures in tournaments, right? Now,
yep.
You did your first local, right? You did your first local, and you know, you had fun and you played along. Now, what was during that time, right? What was your path of getting better at that time?
Path of getting better.
Yeah,
do you mean like what my goal was?
Yeah, at the time, what was your goal? That's what I want to. That's what I want to know.
Oh, my goal at the time when I was like a teen, like my late teens, early 20s, was to go to Evo for Super Turbo, and because I remember seeing John Choi win. I think it was 04,
right,
or 05 when he won that. And I remember being a teenager and being really inspired. Even to this day, I'm inspired by that. Shout out to John Choi. I hope I get to play him offline sometime one day. But that really inspired me, and I was like, dude, I want to go to Evo because I know I can. It's just like everything with this game in my brain, everything's meshing together with this game.
Right.
And I had played a lot of games at that point. Like I have, like, I'm sure you can relate to. I got a crazy like tenure with games. I've played so many games, but Street Fighter 2, man, everything just clicks right with that game. But you know, that's what I wanted. But again, I didn't have the money. I was a teenager, and my living situation, my upbringing was very dysfunctional. So I didn't really come from a very wealthy family or wealthy place. So I was just kind of stuck here, like in my own, and taking what I could get as far as like challenges go. Anytime there was like someone in the scene that wanted to play, or someone that like saw me when Street Fighter 4 at the time was really popping, that brought some interest into HDR and ST. And I remember playing some people back then that were like way older than me, just being really, really curious about me, being like, how old are you? And I'd be like 16, and they'd be like, holy shit, you're crazy. And I would be like, I didn't know how to really take that, you know? Like, I didn't take it in a bad way, but I'd be like, wow, really? I just didn't really have that confidence, or I didn't really think much about myself. And then as things progressed and I got a little bit older, and like I said, when Logan Arcade came over here, I stopped playing the game for a while just because of life. And, you know, I ended up getting like my first girlfriend and got my early 20s, was working a lot. I just didn't play the game at all. And then skip all that. Logan Arcade opens up, and I'm playing with these guys, and everything was still there. Nothing went away. It was like riding a bike, man. Probably even more so. And then I was playing with them, and they were like, "Yo, you need to go to majors, man." And I was like, I don't even know where to begin with that. And I was like, is it still played at Evo? And back then, it really wasn't played at Evo. Evo was leaning more towards modern FGC stuff. You know what I mean? And
right.
If it did have ST, it was just a side tournament, and I wasn't. I'm just not traveling for like a side tournament like that. You know, like I wasn't then. I'm not now. I'm not gonna. You know, I'm not doing all that for a side tournament. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of ironic because if there was like a little get together and they invited me, I would come to that. But you know, not for a side tournament. But anyway, I'm getting a little off track here. So, combo breaker, I found out was a thing here, and I just didn't know about that until some of the guys here were telling me about it. Brian, you know Brian? Yeah. Well, he's a Bath of Leviathan. Yeah, he told me, he's the one who told me about combo breaker. And I didn't know what it was, and I signed up for it in 2017. That was my first combo breaker, and that was my first time getting a taste of like an actual major fighting game tournament, not just for SC but in general. Mm-hmm. And that was my first time like really seeing like what it was like. And let me tell you, man, palms got sweaty because I had been so used to playing like little locals on top. I'd won a couple after that first one that I lost, but it was never anything crazy. Like this was different, man. This was like I had crowds of people watching me. And I was just happy to be there, man. You know, it was kind of like you don't know how it's like until you're in it. And I don't know. Do you want me to go into detail about that year, or were you saving that for like another topic?
Keep going, please. I'm
okay.
Very, very infatuated about the story.
Okay, so 2017 was my first combo breaker, and that was my first time seeing a big major. And I remember seeing in this when it got seeded. A little bit of history here. So one of the locals I had when I was playing HDR, Flo was playing HDR. Rest in peace, Flo. And I didn't know who Flo was. It's just like, even to this day, man, there are still circumstances where like I'll play against someone and just not know who that is. I'm just very like, whoever's in front of me, that's the next challenge, you know? Mm-hmm. I didn't know who Flo was at all. I had no idea who he was, and he was in my tournament, and I ended up fighting him for the grand final of that tournament. And I lost to him, and I was so fucking mad that I lost to him, because it was the transition period of me learning how to use a stick, and I was like 6 months into learning how to use a stick, and I made the mistake of learning how to do it on an octagon gate. And
yeah.
On top of that, my stick was 360 only, and they had the tournament on PS3. HDR was PS3 tournaments at the time. Okay.
Right.
And I couldn't use that, so I had to borrow someone else's stick, and they had a square gate, and I just could not execute for crap. It was the exact same problem I had going from a 360 pad to a PS3 pad. It was like the exact same thing, and Flo beat me, and I was just so mad about that. Like Anthony, like that shit stayed with me for like 9 years. And then, you know, that happened, and X amount of time passes. Fast forward to present day 2017. Flo is in my pool for Super Turbo, and one of the Chicago Third Strike players here, he told me, he's like, "Did you see him? He's in your pool." Because he kind of asked me a similar question you asked, like how did the whole like, you know, tournament thing happen? And I saw that, and like once I saw that, I was like, "Oh my god, I have to win this." Mm-hmm. So pools day comes, I get there. I beat all my opponents, and I see Flo there, same exact guy, and I go to sit next to him, and I was watching. Let me back up. He was fighting his opponent. He beats his opponent. His opponent gets up and walks away. He was on Osagot, and the TO goes up to Flo and asks him, "Do you want to change your character?" And Flo was scrolling on his phone and just shook his head, didn't look at me, nothing, just sitting there. And, you know, that Archphone, Arshot was behind me, and I just looked at Arshot, and Arshot looked at me. We didn't say anything to each other, but I just gave him that look Like, I'm about to fucking go off right now, man. So, sat next to Flo. I picked Fei Long, just 2-0'd him clean.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's a crowd behind us, and everyone was like doing like that, like behind me, and I was like, they didn't exist. Right there, it was just me and Flo, and then Flo, like, it put him into the game. Picks Osagat, I 2-0 him again, clean. And they were getting noisy behind us, so he went to claw. And right when he went to claw, I was like, oh, this is over. So then I 2-0'd his claw, and he sat there and he shook my hand and said, good game. And then afterwards, I went outside in front, and me and Arshad were like screaming at each other and like shoving each other, just saying stuff I probably shouldn't repeat on your podcast, but that was one of my highlights. And you know, I know he passed away, and I felt really bad about that, because I know he did a lot for the community, man. He did so much for just the whole scene, man. Like, I know when Four was around, he really helped promote that game and everything, and it's people like him that really promoted, like, you know, the whole fighting games, man. Like, it just blew the hell up. And it was people like him and Justin Wong and Gutex, and, you know, say what you want about the people they've become, but they are the reason, like the American scene blew up the way it did. So that's another reason why the win meant so much to me. It was like, you know, I could just fucking, it'd be like beating Alex Valle and it's set clean. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It shit matters. You know, if I never got a chance to like actually talk to him after that, and unfortunately I'm not going to be able to, but I would, like, you know, kind of talk to him about that. But, you know, unfortunately the man's in a better place. But so that happened, and then I ended up taking 7th in that tournament. I lost the climax in the first round of losers in top 8. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I was just happy to be there, bro. I fought like hell to get into that top 8. Damned, I ended up winning that tournament against Roy Bazell. And I wasn't upset or nothing, man. Like I said, it was just an experience, and it was good. I'm sure you can relate. Like, you need that first tournament, and you need that tournament experience to like really understand like what it's like to be in that environment.
Yeah.
Playing with other people, and I had some people get in my shit. I didn't practice at all for that tournament, man. I didn't play the game for a few weeks before the tournament happened, and I had some people being like, "Yo, Jiggly, man, aren't you gonna practice?" And I was like, "Nah." And they were like, "No, man, like, but you got to practice." And I was like, "Nah, dude, where I'm at is where I'm at, and the only way I can improve now is being in that situation. That's the only way I can improve. Practice isn't gonna do anything. Playing online and going like 50-0, 100-0, it's not going to do me anything, man. I got to actually be there in that environment to improve at this point. I remember Daigo had a good quote a while back when they asked him like about plateauing and whatnot. He said something along the lines of, there comes a point where watching videos isn't going to help you anymore, and practicing setups and whatnot isn't going to help you anymore. Where you need to like really reach into like your own persona and figure out a way to like improve. And that really goes beyond any advice that like someone could only tell you. That you yourself, you have to find out. And CB 2017 was a lesson in that, because I was like, the only way I can improve now is actually going to these tournaments and trying to win, but unfortunately accepting the loss as a learning experience, you know? It goes back to what you said, Megaman, about like Zangief making you realize that you gotta own up to your mistakes and own up to your losses and defeats and what you did wrong, and not make excuses, you know?
Yep. It's true. I mean, that's pretty incredible, though. And first of all, rest in peace, Flo. I mean,
rest in peace, Flo.
I didn't know about him at all myself, but I did read up about him, and you're absolutely right about one thing. He's like one of the pillars of the FGC, because
yeah, he was.
The fact that he was very versatile in like so many games, it was incredible. And one of the biggest things,
he was a fighting game connoisseur, man.
Yeah, he was. It's like that's what he's like. Actually, one of my favorite players in the FGC, besides like obviously like Damned or so, but he's like one of my main favorite players, because the knowledge that he had was like unmatched. I think he was like one of those players that he was truly ahead of the time. Like he was like he was fantastic in multiple games. But
while we're on that note, I know you said like towards the end we want to give shout outs, but I actually do want to give a few shout outs to some Messi players that have passed away.
Oh, please.
That helped me along the way. So the first one I want to talk about is Sweet Johnny V. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
No, I have not.
I remember when I was like a teenager, man, I was on the SRK forums and I was talking a lot of shit. I was just being really obnoxious, just shit talking teenager, man, to a bunch of grown men and everything. And looking back on it now, I wish I could kind of like slap myself, just being like, dude, you got no idea, man. Like, but I remember SJV was always really kind. He was a Dawson player. And I only played him a handful of times, but I talked to him quite a bit. And he was just really fucking nice, funny dude. And I think he was from California. I hope I'm not wrong about that. But he was really nice to me, man. And I didn't really know it until after I found out he passed away. I think in 2018, 2019, 2020, he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know why. It was kind of like that when Kobe passed away, that you realize the significance they played in the role for where you're at now. And when he passed away, I was like, holy shit, man. You just don't think about it. You don't think about people passing away like that until they do. So I want to give him his flowers and a shout out to him because he helped young Jigglynorris mature as a person outside of the game. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Ego Trip. He founded the No Honor Crew. And I still have him on my friends list on Xbox Live. I'm never deleting that. I remember playing him a lot on HDR. Again, super nice guy. And he was a real change of breath because, like, dude, when I was on HDR, man, it was such a toxic game, man. Like, turbo users this, everyone, like, sending me all kinds of rage mail. I mean, it was basically like a Modern Warfare 2 lobby, man. Like if you went in there, you had to know what you were getting yourself into, man. And he stood out because, like, you know, I got a lot of turbo accusations. I got a lot of people accusing me of cheating, and right away he was really nice. He was a Honda player. He was a Honda player, telling a T-Hawk player, good job. I remember he invited me to the No Honor Crew when it had like 3 or 4 members, and now it's like this whole thing. And I remember in 2011 or 12, Mars Gotti DM'd me and told me that he passed away. And I was shocked. I didn't know. Apparently, I think he had leukemia. He didn't tell anybody. He kept it very private.
That's crazy.
And so, you know, yeah, until he passed away. And I was really shook by that, man. Because it's like I said right before, like, you just don't know. You just don't think about it. And it really bummed me out, man, because, like, you know, he just being with the guy and talking with the guy and having like dozens of games with him and chopping it up. Nice as all hell. Nicest fucking dude you could meet. And he left a great legacy, man. And for people who don't know how No Honor Crew started, that is how it started. It started with him. Mm-hmm. And it was his idea. And like I said, he may have passed away, but his legacy lives on through No Honor Crew. And
yep.
Rest in peace, Mr. Ego Trip. And there's one more guy, Wes Trolson. I don't know if you ever heard of Wes Trolson.
I have, yes.
Yeah, so you know Wes. Did you ever get a chance to play him?
I never did, actually. Like, when I've heard about him maybe like during my early phases of FT, but when I heard he passed, I like kind of was like, you know, I heard stories about him, and I was like, man,
bummer, right?
That's kind of a bummer, man. Like, it's sad. It's sad in terms of people dying like that, man. It's just like, you know, I never got the chance to say, hey, I'm gonna play them, or hey, I could chop it up, or get some really sound advice from them or anything like that. You know, it makes me feel really sad about that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
I know exactly what you're saying.
It's like one of those things. I'm like to myself, I'm like, man, you know, it sucks, but you know, I do still pay my respects towards them about them. So, you know, rest in peace towards them.
He gave. You're gonna like this, and hopefully people listening like this too. So he gave me my welcome to HDR ST moment.
Oh really?
fucking kicked my ass, dude. When I first started playing HDR with T-Hawk, I remember he joined a lobby, and people were like, "Oh man, Wes is joining." I didn't know who it was. He just joined. I'm like, "All right, dude, this guy picked Ken, right?"
Right.
First time I saw the jump in short or jab into Tatsu into knee bash, reversal to everything, short super on me. I mean, he did everything you see, right? He was just hitting me from every angle, giving it to me from every single way I looked, man. And like, I was shook. I was just like, I was like 15 or 16 when it happened, and like he was just fucking me up on that game. He did he beat me 30-0, and it was like I knew like what it could become, but to actually like be in that and to be on the receiving end of that, I wasn't mad about it at all. But I needed that. I needed that because I needed to understand like what the bar here was here to like if one day if I actually go and play in a tournament, I'm gonna be fighting that, you know?
Right.
And then fast forward, he didn't play very often. I think he was like a big ST player before the HDR came out. He didn't play very often, and I remember like I didn't forget that. I took a valuable lesson from that, and I remember running into him again a few years later, and I was kicking his ass. And I remember I was like, "Do you remember that? Like when that happened?" He was like, "I don't." He didn't remember it. He didn't remember playing me like that. He told me, he's like, "I don't remember playing you in that, but man, you're fucking good." And that like meant so much to me, man. That meant everything to me when like hearing that, and letting me know that the work I've been putting in, like, you know, you don't see the work, you don't see what you're doing. You see like where you're at and where you want to end up, but you're not really paying attention to the goal. And getting that a few years later from him meant everything to me, and I was really devastated when he passed away, man. Like it actually made my eyes water when he passed away, because he played a big role into you know what I became with Super Turbo. It's like what, you know, becoming Jigglynorris and doing the things that I've done and having the adventures that I've done. Yeah, I was thinking of before I came on the podcast, I wanted to make sure I got those 3 names out there.
Oh, okay. Well, that's very good to know. Very good to know, bro. So, all right, tell me this now. So, aside from all that, right? You had your HDR battles, right? You had your HDR battles. I'm pretty sure you played GGPO as well, have you?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. So you did your HDR battles, you did GGPO. Tournaments you did as well. Now, I had a question because I remember talking with Archvillain at one point, right? That there was a trip that you guys took, right? You went to Japan, am I right?
No, I haven't gone to Japan.
Okay, you haven't gone to Japan, but I would probably say like you have kind of, you know, I would say like you've kind of had the idea in terms of going, but
I think about it every day.
So in terms of ST, because now I want to know something. Now the goal. Now you told me about your goal and everything like that, right? Now basically my other question is, okay, years later. You've transcended. You've definitely gotten a lot better with Faye, right? And you became hella ruthless with them, basically, right?
Yeah.
Where did it stem from, right? What happened when basically you felt like you got to that point that you kind of realized you were the man at the point? Like when did that happen at that point?
Could you specify a little bit more, man? It's kind of tough to answer.
So basically, so what I'm saying is, okay, through all your training, right? You played more HDR, you pretty much played more online, right? You've gotten better, and basically, before that question, I would say like this: in terms of Fei Long, who was the players that you studied upon, improving with Fei Long?
So my Fei Long is based. It's heavily modeled after Noguchi's Fei Long. And I know Arshot told me that he ended up quitting. Well, not quitting Fei Long, but he switched to the dark side and decided to go in the claw. And I come to find out very recently, like within like the last few months, because Arshot went to Japan recently. He told me that he asked Noguchi about that and said that Noguchi felt like he had done everything he could with Fei, and he wanted to win, so he went to go play Claw. But my Fei is modeled after his Fei, and I remember watching and like when I was learning Fei Long and watching videos, I watched him because there were other Fei Longs, but I watched him. I connected with him the most, man, because he just fucking wailed on people, and I was like, I love this man. And I love that it's not. I love that it isn't just mindless. Like it isn't just mindless offense. There's heavy discipline with his offense, and so like someone just watching, it just looks like complete brutality. But to someone who knows ST, you can see just how calculating that offense is, and the overall game plan, being one step ahead of your opponent, using your footsies, getting slapped in the face, taking it and accepting it, but not getting discouraged by it. And I didn't know how to like word that, and I didn't actually know how to word that and like actually like embody like that play style until I learned how to play Fei myself. When I was learning it, I loved watching the way he played, and it was part of the reason why I stuck with it, was because I was able to have his have that as kind of a blueprint. And I say my Fei is modeled after his Fei. It is, but I still want to add like my own spin on things, and I think at this point I have. I'd like to think that I have. But it got to the point where like, that saying, the best defense is a better offense. It just got to the point where like, there's so many shenanigans in Super Turbo. There's so much crazy crap you can do. I just thought of like, hey, what Fei Long can do? His shenanigan is just ending the round like immediately and doing it very fairly and doing it in a way where you just gotta accept that, man. And honestly, I felt good knowing that there weren't any Fei Long players, man. No one uses that. Even now, there aren't really any American Fei Long players that make noise, at least not as far as I know. I know there's people that like, obviously there's people that play Fei Long, but I haven't seen anyone else really like use him like that, like stick with him like that. And it gave me a sense of pride that I was able to like kind of do something like that with him. And I never felt defeated. I never felt like, man, I should just use someone else. Screw this. I remember my girlfriend asked me, because she's like, she watches me play when I play a lot, and she's like, why Fei? And now when I answer, I'm like, because I can just do whatever I want, man. Like when I'm playing with him, and I don't know if you feel this way with Zangief, but when I'm playing with Fei Long, anything that I would want to do personally, he can do it. He can get in.
Oh, that's exactly.
He can back up. Okay, well then, let's see how long you can nod your head to this. You can get in the way. I can get in the way I want to. I can back up the way I want to. I can counter the way I want to.
Yes.
If I need to come back, I can come back. If I need to intimidate, I can intimidate. If I need to like backhand someone off of me, it's like what I'm saying here is that he can do everything that I want him to do. And a lot of that roster in the game, everyone can do that to some extent. Like I love playing Nuken, for example. I think Nuken's fucking awesome. But even with him, and I think I play a pretty decent Nuken, he can't do exactly what I want him to do, exactly when I need it. And chalk up to experience or whatever, but that's just how it's ended up, what Fei ended up becoming for me.
I see. So it's funny because and you're right about one thing. Nuken is pretty awesome. I think I like that character a lot. By the way.
Oh, you like using him?
Oh yeah, I love using him. He's like one of those characters that it's like people say it's like people say he's bad, but it's like, to be honest with you, he's not bad. I think he's like one of those characters. He's one of those characters that I really like to compare him to like Faye and Geef. Is like he's one of those characters like, okay, if you know for a fact you put the work, it totally shows. And obviously, like he may have some quirks here and there, but those quirks is actually fun as hell. So it's like
it is.
I that's why I enjoy him a lot. Like he's one of those characters that's just like, oh man, he's just like real fun to use. Like he's one of those characters like, okay, I can like kind of. How can I say it? Maybe he's like one of those characters that I feel like at times if I want to take a break, like a mental break, I just choose him. Like he's fun to use.
Yeah. That's kind of ST in general. Or older I get, the more I like taking mental breaks from the game, like while I'm playing it, and I'll play with more of the roster.
Yeah.
But as far as like just being like ruthless with Faye, like the goal was never to be ruthless though. The goal was just to be really fucked, like the best that I could be with Faye. Yep. And I watch other Feilongs, and then like we'll take Hanashi for example. Hanashi is not obviously yes he can be aggressive, but from what I've watched, he's a much more technical Feilong than I am. I watched Yuri's Feilong, kind of the same thing, more technical than I am. I do watch Balcork's Feilong, and Balcork is a much more, I want to say, like much more well-rounded Feilong than I am. He's a much more versatile Feilong than I am.
Right.
At least from what I've seen on videos. He's got a really good Feilong. But with me, man, I've tried playing different ways with him, and when I'm playing that way, I feel like that's when I'm at my best, and that's what makes me the most comfortable with him. Now, there are times in tournaments where I have found out where people would shut that shit down, and that was, in general, that's the next step to getting better at ST. You need to accept that your game plan is not working, and you need to figure that out. And if someone snuffs out your game plan, you need to figure out a way to get back into your game plan. That's one way of doing it. I know some people will just completely change up and just play in a different style. I don't know if I'm explaining this well or explaining it right, but basically when you're playing in a tournament and when you get into like a top 8, when you get into a top 4, the step to like really progressing is you really gotta. I think respecting is sounding kind of generic. You need to understand that the opponent you're fighting, they got there the same way you got there.
Yeah.
Tournament speaking, that is. You know what I mean? We're talking just a tournament. There's a story before that, who knows? But they got there the same way you got there. And you need to understand that they're not just gonna go down like that. That's the difference between playing online versus playing like in an actual setting like that. That's something that I did not understand until I was actually in that position. It goes back to what I was saying in the previous topic.
Right. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I know exactly what you mean. Pretty much in a top 8 setting, it's completely different. It's like I feel like one of the biggest things that people should realize is I feel like whenever your matches get played, you kind of get scouted. And a lot of times when you get scouted is that people is trying to, obviously you're going to be like, you're going to be facing these type of guys. You're facing whoever, you're going to be facing whoever that's there. And one of the biggest things that what's going to happen is they're formulating a game plan to just kind of shut your shit down, obviously. So it's up to
as they should, we're all there to win.
Oh yeah, that's exactly it. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that I feel like one of the biggest things that I want to say that it's challenging for me is that I feel like, just like you were saying, like the character you have, like you feel like you can do whatever you want or anything like that. That whatever you want kind of gets limited because it's like, oh well, they devising plans in terms of how to stop it. But I think one of the biggest things that, in terms of being up in the top 8 and everything like that, is that one of the things that I would that stands out is the how you got there, you had fun getting there, and then basically you just feel like you're not regulated into like playing some certain way. You're playing your way. I mean, you kind of have bits and pieces of the player that you study upon. But I always am a firm believer of when you have something like that, you have multiple ideas from watching, and you create it into your own personality. And basically, when you create it into your own personality, no one's really familiar with that personality whatsoever.
Well, that's fighting games. Considering if let me back up here. If the fighting game is well made, that's basically fighting games, man. It's the beauty of fighting games is there's a lot of personality in them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You make such a good point, and that's why I tell people that have come to me for advice about how do you handle that situation. And the one thing I tell everyone is that when you're in a top 8, top 16, top 32, however big the tournament is, whatever it means to you, is that you need to understand how you got there, and you cannot forget that how you got there, because the reason why you're in that position, if you do get there, you're in that position only because you're doing what you've always been doing. Mm-hmm. And if you get eliminated, it's why you got away from what you were doing. I'm not a big fan of this guy, but so LeBron James had a good quote. Remember in 2011 when the Mavs smoked Miami Heat?
Yeah.
So I remember he got asked like what changed the following year when they ended up winning the NBA championship, and he said that he got away from the game, like he started playing to prove people wrong instead of just playing the game the way he'd always been playing it. And it's true. He makes a good point. That applies to any game, not just basketball or Super Turbo, like any game. Any game, when you go to a very competitive level, you need to keep playing the way you need to keep competing, and you need to keep the same mindset of how you got there. If you decide to experiment, or if you will, like the emotions get to you, or the crowd gets to you, or whatever may get to you, you're gonna lose. Mm-hmm. Just, I don't want to sound like brutally honest here. Actually, well, I am, but like you're just gonna fucking lose. And that kind of happened to me in Combo Breaker 2018 when I lost to El Trouble. Not when I lost. I ultimately lost to Silent Scope. But I remember when I lost to El Trouble, I lost 3-1. And those first fights, I don't remember what I was doing, man. I was just trying to play better than what I was. I don't think I'm wording that right, but I just wasn't being myself, and I ended up costing me that fight. And I remember I went outside the Pheasant Run Resort, where I think that was the first year I saw you. Mm-hmm. I saw you, but I saw you around, but I didn't speak to you. I'm gonna be honest, man. I was in a hyper competitive dickbag mode at that tournament, man. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I wanted to just kick ass. It was nothing personal at all. I just didn't want to talk to anybody. My mind was just on winning, and for better or for worse, I ended up getting put in losers. I remember going outside and being so mad at myself because I saw the problem right away. And up until my next fight in losers, in my head I was like, I don't know who I'm going to fight next. I don't care who it is, but they are going to get destroyed. And it took a while, man. That was a big tournament. It took a while, but my next fight was against Henry Sen, and I 3-0'd him. And like that, for me, that whole fight was just red, man. Like I was so mad that fight because of how things went down. And I remember after that, people were like running at me and screaming at me. They're like, Jiggly, you know what you just said? You know who that was? And I was just like, I don't know who that was, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't really care, man. I just wanted to. I was so mad. I was so disappointed in myself, and now that's coming out of my mouth, looking back on it, I actually needed that. I needed that loss. I needed that experience to get better at the game. You know.
Mm-hmm. I hear you there, man. Well, I think that was the first time I met you during 2017, and yeah, I mean at that time that was actually my very first combo breaker that I went to, and I went with a friend of mine. His name he goes by the Chef Kiss at the time, and I remember we talked about going to Carbon Breaker, and I said to myself, man, I'm like, you know, I have yet to been to Chicago, so I'm like, I think it's time for me to just head up and go there. I'm like, he was in it and we were in it, and that combo breaker, well, obviously was a memorable one because of the double proposal. But it's more along the lines of that was like
crazy, man.
it was crazy. I mean, shout outs to, you know, Killer Miller and El Trouble for that one. But I think
shout outs, guys, congrats.
What I really enjoyed about that tournament was it was like, obviously it was my biggest tournament that I have ever went to. Honestly, that was like my very first one. Like I went to, like, you know, my first tournament was like the very first 2-World that I attended, and that was at Next Level. And since then, I was just like, all right, I kept going here and there, kept going and everything like that. And it's kind of funny because that same year, right, it was kind of weird because that same year I was really actually contemplating on quitting ST at the time. Because
oh shit, why?
Because there was a point that I felt like I was like, man, I felt like I was like not getting better whatsoever. Like I felt like I was not getting better, and I said to myself, I'm like, man, I felt like I don't know what went wrong, but I felt like, man, I just still making. I mean, of course, you know, I can blame myself for like. You know, for playing.
I'm messing with you, man.
No, I mean, you know, people would say honestly, people would say that, and I'm like to myself, you know, it's like I like the character. Like, I don't like the idea of forcing yourself to play a really good character just because of winning. I mean, of course, winning is important, but I feel like one of the biggest things that some people just seem to lose sight of sometimes is not about, I mean, sure, it's about winning, but I like to have fun and win my own way. And obviously I pick who I pick, and, you know, obviously I have to deal with the consequences, of course. But yeah, it was the year that I was like contemplating on quitting, and that's when I was like, you know, during that time I was like, you know, really I was like talking to myself about it, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I really want to keep doing this. That's what I kept saying to myself. So I remember before, you know, and shout outs to Riz1. And I remember he was moving. He was going to be moving to California. And during that time, you know, it was that day that I thought about really just saying, yeah, I was just going to hang it up. And he taught me like some stuff because he's been to Japan like a few times, especially that one group that they went between the US and the French players. They all went, and he taught me how to standing 360, then Hijiki screw at the same time, and really changed my whole perspective. And I'm like, oh man, I didn't know I could do this. And I'm like to myself, yo, I'm back. So I'm like, that completely changed everything. And I'm like to myself, man, I was like getting it in, I was like changing everything, and I'm like, man, I was like incorporating into footsies and everything like that. And I'm like to myself, bro, I kept saying to myself, man, okay, I'm starting to figure things out, still figuring things out. It took me about a year to not much of a year. I think, you know, and we're gonna probably talk about it, because I would say like it leads up to the combo breaker that we attended, and I personally think that's my favorite tournament.
Oh, you ready to talk about that?
I am ready to talk about it. So I think.
All right, let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about it.
So, folks can understand, like that combo breaker, I feel like I was still, even though I've vastly gotten better, but I was still figuring things out. And I remember when we played like, damn, how much games we played? I think we played like over 50 games.
We played, going back to scouting, I used Hawk against you because I didn't want you to scout my Fae. I didn't want you to scout my Fae, and I knew I could tell within like 2 games of playing against you, I was like, this dude's not going all out against me. He's not using everything he's got. I was playing with you with my Hawk. I play a pretty good Hawk. It's not the best Hawk, but I can definitely go on a streak with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember playing you, and I was just like, I didn't know if I was gonna fight you in the tournament. I just wanted to get some fights in. And at the time, I was kind of like, one lesson I learned from the previous combo breaker was I needed to not be such a standoff and actually play with other people and keep the juices flowing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that was a mistake on my part the previous year, just to not play anybody and just keep it just for the tournament. But you and me, we were there for a while, man. And I was like, I'm very animated when I play, man. I was just going through it, and you were just sitting there living your life, man. And
it was fun because I was playing. I felt like at the time I felt like I was playing out of my mind. I ain't gonna lie to you. And
you were playing really good, man.
I was like playing out of my mind during that time, and I remember you was like, "Man, this should." Your first comment was, "Man, I wish somebody could record this." And it's funny because during that weekend, I remember Mars hitting me up, and I told Mars, I'm like, "Yeah, I played you with some casuals, and then we playing T-Hawk." And he was like, "Oh man," he was like, "Yo, you were in for a treat," because he did told me like some lore in regards about you using T-Hawk back then, and he was like how you were like the first player to kind of sort of discover Sako taking with him. Besides, I mean, there was Damn Die, but there was you.
I never got very good at it, but I started figuring it out. It was a thing. And I was just like, wow, man, this is really good. But I'm okay at it, man. It's just one of the things where like I didn't find it very attractive, but it was a thing.
That was very attractive. It was fun. That was fun though. But I mean, let's talk more about it. So that combo breaker, I mean, we basically went through the matches and everything like that. I know you were like running through the bracket. Like you were just going through it. Like it was kind of amazing. It was really amazing to see. Like I was like watching you and I'm like, man, you were just like running people over with your Fae. It's like, it was not like, it's kind of funny because it was like when I was watching you, it was like, man, it was like, I mean, this Fae is like super hyper aggressive. And I said to myself, man, I'm like to myself, when I was watching you, I'm like, man, I did not think I would have had a chance against you. I really didn't.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah, because the thing was, that was like one of the Fae Geef matchup is one of those matchups that I don't play as much. I mean, the only time I did play that matchup sometimes would be against Hardbred. But, the Hardbred. First of all, Hardbred's the GOAT. That's one thing. And the other thing is, he was like, he didn't really, at the times when he used to whoop my ass, I know for a fact he didn't really take me seriously. So it was like one of those matches I'm like, all right, I did not understand what I was going to do, but I was like to myself, all right, I'll do my best. And seeing about like getting into top 8, I mean, I beat Afromatic. Oh, go ahead.
How did you feel about making that top 8?
Well, first of all, that was like, if I were to say it, that was my very first top 8 ever.
Was it really? No shit.
Yeah, it was my very first top 8 ever. And
I did not know that.
Yeah, because I beat Moo Master getting its top 8. And I was like, bro, I was like, was like I went outside with my boy, and I was like screaming. And I remember the first person I encountered literally was Snake Eyes. And during the time,
he was there hanging out.
Yeah, he was still there. He was still in the tournament for Street Fighter 5. Yes, it was Street Fighter 5. And I told him, he was like, yo, what up, man? Yo, what up? He was telling me, yo, bro, what? He's like, yo, how you doing in ST? I'm like, I made top 8 with Geef. He's like, no, you didn't make top 8 with Geef. I'm like, yeah, I did. He's like, no, man, I don't believe you. I'm like, yeah, I did, bro. And he saw, and he was like, yo, you made top 8 with Geef? I'm like, damn, bro. He's like, man.
That's impressive, man.
That is impressive. And the reason why he says that is because, obviously, well, he's an evil champion in HDR with, HDR Geef. And he was like, yo, he's like, man, Geef, like, regular Geef he's like, man, regular Geef is just ass. So he was like, the fact that you made it to top 8, that's impressive of itself. And I'm like, yo, thanks, man. I'm like, he's like, yo, are you gonna take it home? I'm like, bro, I'm celebrating the top 8 right now because this is a really big milestone for me. So I was thoroughly happy about it. And I remember I was told, I was like, yo, you're in top 8, come back tomorrow. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like to myself, I can't believe this is happening. That's what I said.
Damn, man, that is beautiful, dude. Fucking A, man. I'm so proud of you. I didn't know that, man. That's amazing.
It is, man. Like, I was very happy about that. But tell me, what was that tournament like for you? Like going through it.
So leading up to it, man, I felt like I could take it. Honestly, I was thinking about it. I looked at the bracket, who was in it, and I was pretty confident I could take it, but I don't, for people listening, I want to be very clear. I was so very wary about who was in the tournament. I was so very on my toes about everyone in there. Climax, for example, he knocked me out in 2017, and I didn't fight him at all in 2018. But I was just like, number one, I got to get past the guy who knocked me out in 2017. And I was just like really focusing on the lessons that I took away from the last 2 combo breakers where I lost both years. And I was just like, okay, I need to really show what I've been saying about getting better only by being in a tournament. And I actually got to win the fucking tournament. And I got to do what I got to, all this work I've put in since 2007, I got to have something to show for it, man. So going in the tournament, man, I felt pretty good, and people started to know who I was, and I had a bit of an advantage where a few of my fights were over before the fucking character screen even came out, man, because they were so intimidated by me. And when I got to I fought Climax in winners, and I knew I was going to run into Climax. And that day, I went up to Jimmy Bones, because he was there hanging out at Combo Breaker. And I was like, yo, Jimmy Bones, can we talk for a minute? And he was like, what's up? And I was like, dude, let's just do a race of 10. And he did not want to do a race of 10. He did not want to play. I can't speak for the guy, what he was thinking, but he was just like, I don't want to play ST. I'm done with ST. I'm done with... I guess he got some shade, or people were trying to like at risk his performances, and he just got a bad taste in his mouth from the community. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't want to put something that's false out there, but that's the impression I was getting off the guy. And he didn't want to play me. And I told him, I had to be very clear. I'm like, Jimmy, there's no ego here. There's nothing there. I'm not playing. I don't want to play you in a race 10 to just start swinging my dick around and brag about it. Okay, I'm playing you because I need that experience from your boxer. Okay, and I want to win this tournament. Please help me out here, man. He stared at me for like a good minute, and he said, fine. So we played a race of 10 against his boxer, and I won that set 10-5. And I thanked him very graciously and humbly. And because of that, fighting his boxer, dude, that guy's a menace, man. That guy is a machine, and I have a feeling that if he actually was playing the game consistently, I don't know if that set would have looked differently. But I thanked him. I was very humble as I could possibly be, because I needed that. And then when I fought Climax, it was just like, it was, you remember in The Matrix when Agent Smith kills Neo?
Yeah.
And Neo comes back, and it's like nothing to him when he's fighting Agent Smith. Like he's kind of like just looking at everything. Really, it's kind of what it was like fighting Climax in the top 24. And I got past him, and then I went to Tio. I'm like, who am I fighting next? And he was like, Nolan, you're in top 8. And I was just like, wait, seriously? That's it? He's like, yeah, that's it. And I was like, oh shit, yeah. So I was happy about that. I was happy that I was able to, like, you know, just get it out of the way really easily. And then I was like, well, shit, let's go celebrate, boys. And I had my friend with me that year. And, dude, we got hammered that night. I mean, I got obliterated. And Afro Cole was there. Not Afro Cole. Afromatic was there.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw me because I lost my keys. And I was looking. I went back into that room at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And I was just wasted, man. And I was looking for my keys, and eventually they were back in my hotel room. That's how drunk I was. I never lost them to begin with. But I get back to my hotel at like 5 in the morning, wake up. We had checkout at 11, wake up. I am so hungover, man. And I was just like, I was groggy, and I was like, top 8, super turbo. Oh, God, this sucks. Pack up my stuff, get back to the venue. My friend, he's panicking because he sees me like just like falling asleep on the chair. So he gets me a Red Bull and he gets me a burger, and I chug that stuff, and I'm still not good. And then like the reality dawned on me like while Vampire Savior was going on, and I was like, yo, I gotta wake up, man. I'm like, man, why did I drink so much the night before? So I chugged like 3 more Red Bulls, man. And when top 8 came, I got swept by money. And in my head, I was like really mad. 'Cause I was like, fuck, here we go again. Like, I'm losing. And I think it goes, now that I'm like looking back on it in hindsight, it goes back to what you said. I got scouted by money. At some point, I don't know if it was that tournament or the previous year, but he scouted me because he was stopping everything I was doing. And I wasn't changing it up.
Right.
So I was outside afterwards with Arshad, smoking a cigarette, and I was like trembling. I was like, Arshad, how did I lose that fight? How did I lose that? What did I do wrong? And he was just shrugging. He's like, I don't know, man. You got to figure that out. And I was like chain smoking cigarettes out there, and I don't even smoke cigarettes, but I was like chain smoking cigarettes out of like, kind of like disappointment and fear about like, oh my God, how did this go so wrong, man? I got swept. And I took about 3 rounds off of him. So it wasn't free, but I got swept. But you know, no one's gonna care about the rounds. You're just gonna see the scoreboard.
Right.
So I remember coming back, took a breather, came back, and I was watching your fight with Afromatic, which was, oh my God, like people talk about that, dude. People talk about that set to this day, man. Like that was a legendary set. I mean, like, you could do like a class on that set, man. That people who want to learn the game or people who are getting into the game, like, go back and watch that set, because the level of play on both sides, it was just so good, man. I don't know, what were your thoughts on that set, man? Like, did you know him beforehand?
So it's funny, I did not. And the craziest part was before I kind of went outside and I was jumping for joy for top 8. I remember the first thing.
You actually were jumping for joy about that?
Oh, yeah, bro, I was, man. I was jumping for joy on that shit, bro. The first thing that I remember happened was, I think the brackets got updated, and they was talking about Afromatic, right? I ran into him and his boys, and he was like, in his first words, he was like, yo, man, you're going to be my opponent for tomorrow. I'm like, yeah? He's like, yeah, man. He's like, we shook hands and everything like that. He's like, yo, man, we got to do it big. And I'm like, man, I'm like, man, I'm gonna try to. And I think the biggest the biggest thing that he said was, yo, I think the biggest thing that we should do, this is what he said, the biggest thing we should do is basically, yo, you gotta pick, I gotta pick. Both got the fist, and then we got a fist bump with the pick. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm down to do that. And I kind of practiced it a few times, And then I went outside afterwards, and I
you
just
guys
like
rehearsed that?
Yeah, we really did, because the thing was, we did not know so we were kind of complicated. It was funny. We were kind of complicated in terms of, yo, are we just gonna do it? I don't know if we were like playing theater at the time. We was like, yo, are we gonna just do a normal normal handshake or fist bump? You're like, nah, let's do a fist bump with the picks. And I'm like, okay, it makes total sense to do that. He has a fro.
Gotcha.
He has a fro. I have a fro. It kind of really make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it did, man.
They really made a lot of sense. But that set, it's kind of funny because what really took away from me during that set was, bro, first of all, I was nervous as fuck. That's one thing. The second thing was why I was nervous. Well, first of all, top 8. 2, I mean, was on the big stream. It was on the big stream. Come to find out, and shout out to Vampire Arcade. You have like over 500 people watching me. And I said to myself, oh my goodness. I'm like, yo, I am trembling in fear at this point. And I gave this fist bump before that, when Climax beat Nakanishi. We gave a fist bump. He was like, yo, then Climax, and shout outs to Climax. Climax told me, yo, good, yo. Do your best. Just do you. And I'm like, I bet. But
yeah, Climax knows.
He knows, man. But during that set, I ain't gonna hold it to you. There was a lot of things that I made a whole lot of mistakes on. Like I wasn't really punishing right. I wasn't watching my toes. This man was like sweeping me for free. And I'm like to myself, bro, in my mind, I'm like to myself, what the hell am I doing? That was my first thing. And afterwards, I was like, all right, I kind of have to really play in terms of like punishing his whiff sweeps. Because there were times like he's like going for them preemptively instead of saying, oh, well, it's not like he's monitoring me doing lariats and all that stuff from max distance or anything like that. He's just walking up and doing it. So I need to learn to just start punishing it, which I did later on in the set. But I'm not gonna lie, that zero dot final atomic buster that I did that
whole room exploded, man.
Oh my goodness, bro. I was like, yo, I saw he did jump light kick into super, and I'm like, yo, I got the jump. And when I saw in that moment when I had the jump, and in my mind said, yo, spin. It literally just said spin. My mind just said spin for the life of me. And next thing you know, I know for a fact instead of a 720, I literally did a 1080, and that's spin punch. And I got the super, and I'm like, oh my god, okay. That moment I got it, and I'm like, all right, in range. And I'm like, I'm gonna just keep it simple. Just go for running bear grab and just end the round right there. And I got it.
Oh, dude. No, bro, that wasn't simple, man. That was like some 9,000 IQ shit, because like no one in the room no one thought you were gonna fucking go into a combo into a bear. I didn't think that, and I was back there watching it, man.
Yeah.
Dude, from my like perspective, being that audience, you weren't looking, your back wasn't turned, like you were looking at the game. Mm-hmm. Everyone in that room lost their fucking mind.
Yeah.
Like that was like you're saying, like, you're mad at yourself for making the mistakes, adapting. That just made it so much better, man. Because what that was just fucking super turbo, man. Like it was super turbo played at the most entertaining competitive level, and that's why the set is it's just so good to watch. And someone could point out like, yeah, he made a mistake there, like Ryu made a mistake there. It's just like, whatever, man. It was just fun to watch. And no one's going to play a set 100% perfectly. It was the fact that mistakes were made and you both adjusted to the mistakes. And it just got to the point where like, hey, man, you got him,
Yeah.
He's a good sport. He knew it too,
Yep, he was. And I had a really, really good time playing that set. That set was really fun. So
yeah,
it was a really good set, and I think that's what's like one of the biggest sets that really, I would say, put me on the map, really, to be honest with you, because you had your geek players, but there wasn't really much. There wasn't really a lot of them, especially that was out there that really made a top 8. I mean, obviously you had like in the past, you had like your Dandies and Cigar Bobs and everything like that. But during that time, it was like, oh well, nobody really knew there was like a new one on the rise, and
Yeah.
that was that.
It's hard in ST, man. It's hard in ST. It doesn't really happen, man.
It really was, man. So afterwards, then we played.
Oh yeah, here we go.
I gotta say, personally,
Here we go, man.
I really, besides that, I think that set, our set is like one of the best sets that I hold to my heart so much, because that set could have gone either way, and we were both like, I mean, bro, we were tense, man. We were tense, bro.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those.
What made it worse is that they had the tech difficulties and they had to stop and they had to pause the tournament.
Oh yeah, I
You know what I
remember.
mean?
I remember because during that time we were like, how long the wait was? It was like over 20 minutes, by the way. And the other thing was, you were like, yo, do you want to just play offline? And I was like, man, I ain't got a problem doing it. That's what I said. But then again, they would be like, oh, it didn't count because they rather stream it or anything like that. So we were waiting. I mean, it was like one of those calm before the storm moments. And
It was, man. I remember sitting there and I was just like, I remember because you were on the chair, I'm on the floor, and I was thinking, and I could feel your energy. I could feel it, like, and I could feel your energy, man. I was just there and I was like, this dude is, how do I word this, man? I was just like, this dude is here. Like, this is what it is, man. This is, we're in top 8. This is what it is.
Right.
It's not very often that you sit there for a prolonged time before your set. So, like, I was just there in my head thinking, like, all right, man, well, however this goes, it goes. Because I put myself here because I got swept, and I gotta fucking make this work, man. And I knew you were good, and I know the fight is in Fei Long's favor. But none of that mattered. I threw that all away in my head immediately because I was like, it doesn't matter, because like on paper I feel like I should have beaten money, but I didn't. I got swept. So right. I gotta not think that way, man. I want people to know that ultimately I ended up winning that tournament, but between Megaman, between Climax, between Arshot, Archvillain, and money. Is that the word that I fought? Yeah. You were the only motherfucker that did not bleed. Everyone else at some point they bled in the fight. You did not bleed, not one time. Climax, he started, when I say bleed, I'm talking metaphorically. So I know you know what I mean by that, why you can start tasting the blood and sniffing the blood.
Yeah.
Climax did. I remember the moment when he did is when he got too close to me on knockdown, and I woke up and I threw him with Faye. And Faye has like the worst throw range. Right. But he just ignored it. He didn't care. Our shot bled. He did a jump back heavy kick in the corner, and I did a as deep as possible max range flame kick, and it did like a third of his health bar, and that's when I felt it. And then with money, when I started jumping up and down, that right there was when I was like, oh my god, I'm about to win this fucking tournament. But you, this guy did not bleed, man. Like up until the very end, even when the match was secured, and I did the buffer forward roundhouse into super, he still didn't bleed, man. And that was the craziest thing about the fight. That it wasn't like saying like he didn't give up is discrediting. It was just like the whole fight, man, was just. I mean, this was like some anime shit. Like it wasn't even it wasn't even a Fei Long Zangief matchup anymore. It was just him versus me. Yeah. And I remember the two moments about that fight that stood out to me is we were playing footsies at the end of one round, and I caught you off of like very max range Rekka, and I got you with that. And I didn't know if that was gonna hit. On any other character, it probably wouldn't have. And the other one is when you 720'd me. And I remember when I got 720, dude. Oh my god, I wanted to throw my stick across the room when that happened.
Well, let me tell you something before you speak about that. Right, that one that you clocked me with Rekka, right? That footsie moment, I was thinking to myself, all right, I was thinking to myself, you were gonna Rekka, I just didn't know when and where. So, because the funny thing was, that whole set, you didn't really like did it. You know what I'm saying? You didn't really like did Rekka in neutral like that, unless you had a reason to. That reason came up when I tried running bear grab. And then you clocked me for it. I'm like, and I said to myself, I'm like, okay, so during that time, you would do it. But during that whole set, you didn't like do it. You just kind of like, you know, either you would combo into Rekka, or you would do chicken wing and everything like that. And I'm like, okay, you didn't really like kind of go for the Rekka in neutral. So I'm like, all right, maybe he felt like he didn't trust it. So I felt like, all right, it's better for me to just go ahead and just be a bully and attempt to, you know, throw you off with that. But that was a very, very, very clean response. That's what you did, though.
Yeah, it was. I had to maneuver myself into that one. Yeah, the reason I didn't do any of the neutral Rekka is like I would do into a combo, but doing it neutral, there was just too much risk, man. It's not like I do it to like a Ryu, for example, which is a very bad matchup for Faye. But like, you know, I can just throw a neutral Rekka out there, for example, and he can't do stuff. If I do it to Zangief, he can't punish me immediately. But the problem is if that isn't in the corner, if it's mid-screen, that puts Zangief in position to make a next move.
Right.
And I was not going to risk that. It was a tournament. It was a top 8. The Zangief knows what the fuck he's doing. I'm not doing that. But at the same time, it's a delicate situation because you can't show fear. I'd like to think that I showed you that I wasn't afraid of doing it. I was looking for an opportunity to do it. But yeah, man, that whole set was like, it was like I said, it was like some anime shit, man. I mean, afterwards, I didn't expect you to tell me that I had to go win the whole tournament, man. I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Usually, you know, after a set is over, the person you're playing, especially if you don't know them, like, you know, they're gonna be mad. They're gonna be like GGs or fist bump and then just walk away. You know, that was very classy, and it's not something that I'm really used to seeing, and it humbled me because I was just like, shit. I don't know if I would have. In that situation, had I lost, I don't know how I would have behaved if I lost that. But it went a long way with me, and it was something that actually probably helped me win the whole thing, was having that, you know, like that level of dignity, someone showing that level of dignity after a very close fight. And like I said, when I said you didn't bleed, you were aware that you didn't bleed. Like, you were aware that, you said it before, like we talked about the topic, that it could have gone either way.
Yeah. The cool part about that was kind of like, when I told you to go win the tournament, I ain't gonna hold it to you. I knew deep down, right? I knew deep down after I lost, I was like, yeah, I said to myself, yeah, you're gonna take it. That's what I said. I said that because one of the biggest reasons is that not only the fight was drawn out, but I felt like it was kind of like some philosophy stuff. Like, I felt like that was one of the fights that I would say that it's needed, because sometimes when you have a really drawn out good fight, it's like, it's sort of just like reinvigorate your fire. And then obviously it's like, obviously afterwards I was said to myself, I'm like, yo, man, I'm like, I'm like, yo, good games, you know, take the tournament. That was it. Take the tournament. I'm like, this. I didn't say, like, I was like, And personally, I wasn't mad. I'm like, to be honest with you, that whole.
I'm sure you weren't happy. Like no one's happy about that. But you definitely weren't mad.
No. Not mistake. So trust me on this. When I tell you that, I was really not mad. I was actually happy. The only reason why I was happy.
Really?
I'm gonna tell you why. I was happy because, like I told you, first top 8. I did not know how far I was gonna get. So the way I see it, it was like, okay, whatever placement I was gonna get, I was happy with regardless. So therefore, I would like to myself, man, you know what? I'm very happy with what I placed in. I showed out. I did my best, and I'm like to myself, first top 8, very happy about it. Very happy about it. So I was not mad. Was not mad whatsoever. I was like to myself, bro. And at the same time, I had to go too because I had to catch my flight. So therefore, it was like I was heading back, and I'm like to myself, and my boy, we was in the Uber. We was talking about it. He was like, "Yo, man." He's like, "What do you?" He's like, "You think?" He asked me. He's like, "You think he's gonna win?" I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "He's gonna win." That's what I said. He's gonna win. And he's like, "How you know that?" I'm like, "It's not." I was like, I said, he asked me, "How do I know that?" I'm like, to be honest with you, I don't know. But I said something in my gut tells me that he is going to win it all, literally. And it's probably gonna be like in one of those fashions that, like what we were seeing through pools, like he was just like in dominant fashion, literally. So therefore, when I heard you won, and I'm like, I was like really happy for you, like super happy.
Thanks, man. It means a lot to me, man. Thank you. I appreciate that, especially from fucking the set we had, and how much you were in that, man. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. So obviously that was like such an amazing tournament. And folks, that VOD is still on YouTube. I mean, you guys should totally just watch it just because. So, but all right, let's move on, right? So let's go to this next panel, right? Let's talk about the FGC as a whole, right?
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the modern FGC of nowadays?
So modern compared to like SF6 and Tekken and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think it's in a really good spot, man. We're in 2024. You compare it to the way it was in 2014. It's grown so much. I cannot even put it into words.
Mm-hmm.
I went to this most recent combo breaker, and I watched SF6 Grand Finals and I watched the Tekken 7 Grand Finals, man. And it's just awesome, dude. It's so awesome to watch that, to see how like mainstream it's become, and to see like all these different people watching it, man. Like I could not have dreamed of seeing something like this when I started playing Street Fighter 2, and like that little basement, my first local and whatnot. To see how it's grown from that to this, like this whole room filled. I think it's fucking awesome. I hope that it stays this way. I hope that the current landscape of live service, everything, and people playing video games being viewed as a consumer and not a customer, I hope that doesn't interfere somehow with fighting games as a whole. And I hope that the community keeps nurturing it and does not take it for granted, and it keeps going up and up and up, and that we don't have another like dark ages like between like 2000 2004 when fighting games were just dead.
Right.
I hope it stays that way. And yeah, man, I'm really just a spectator of it. I play Street Fighter 6. I tried playing at Combo Breaker. I got eliminated in pools. But it's just fun to watch, man. It's really cool, and I hope that I know esports in general right now are kind of in a rough spot, mostly with like first-person shooters. I know they're not making any money right now. It's really tough to run something this big and balance money and passion together, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like sports like the NFL or the NBA where there's just billions being poured into it. This is more of like a homebrew thing going on. It's like a homebrew thing that's just become so massive, and I would hate to see it being ruined by greed. You know?
Mm-hmm. Which is true. I mean, the fact that we do have esports nowadays for Street Fighter 6, it's pretty amazing to see. I think right now it's probably like, I agree with you. It's in a really good spot. I'm just worried more or less about the sustainability of it, because
yeah, I agree with you. I completely agree with you.
I would say, like, you know, you have your first tournament in Capcom Cup, which was $1 million, and then you have another. Then you pretty much have another one come up, and then you have like Esports World Cup that came out afterwards, and then it's like, you know, now you have all these tournaments that kind of, well, I would say like there's some tournaments that, you know, it does pay out a good decent amount of money. There's still some that doesn't pay out a good amount of money, but, you know, I would say like,
yeah, let me ask you something, dude.
Okay.
Let's say you won combobreaker 2019. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say you won that tournament.
Right.
Were you thinking about the money?
No.
Okay.
At the time, I would say I was not thinking about it. At the time, I would probably say like I was just thinking about just winning at the time, Ian. So it was like one of those things like, okay, the money didn't really concern me. Like, obviously, you know, the money was a bonus, but
oh yeah,
the money was a bonus. But I think what mattered more was just like getting the W. That's basically what it was.
No, it's a nice, you know, you go back and you think back to like, you know, when I was going from semis to grand final, I was waiting for money to come and, you know, plug in his stick and whatnot. And I remember I was fighting the computer a little bit, because I felt like, you know, the finality of what was going on dawning on me, like, oh my God, I'm here. Like, I'm here. Like, this is it. This is the fucking moment. I'm here right now, man. Like, and I just fought through I just fought through a gauntlet against 3 exceptionally good players. And I got all nervous, and I thought back to like what I said earlier in the stream, like, you know, starting off, and I thought back to my cat who just turned 14. Happy birthday, Zimba. I thought back to the girl I was dating at the time. I just thought back to all the things that made me Jigglynorris. And money was not in that. Like you said, it's a nice little bonus, but it wasn't in that. And the point that I'm making here is that with how big modern FGC has become, is that I really hope that there is a balance between the passion and the money, because the FGC is here because of passion. It's not here because of money. It's here because people just genuinely care about it, man. You know,
right?
It grew into this behemoth that it is because people just love playing this and they cared about it so much that it grew into this. And I would hate to see it ruined by something from the outside that has no comprehension about that. And just all they see is dollar signs, and they don't understand any passion. Now, I'm sure there's players out there that will pick a top tier just to win the money, you know, and that's one thing. Okay, do I agree with it? No, but you know, what the fuck am I gonna do about that? You know, it's, you know, just picking a top tier and playing a fighting game and winning. It's every fighting game is like that.
Right.
But the people who do that have passion enough to actually learn how to play the game and use the top tier. You know, you can't just pick them and press one button and win a tournament. My thing is with like shareholders and investors and you know, for example, at the last combobreaker, the director of Tekken 7 was there giving a speech, and they introduced like the newest characters of the game. She's from, I forgot her name, was a Polish fighter. You know, like obviously, like
it's Lydia.
Yeah, her. Yeah. So like obviously, like, you know, the shareholders for Bandai Namco are gonna be paying attention to like what the director of Tekken 7 or Tekken 8 is doing, and seeing his moves and whatnot. And you know, I just don't want to see like you said, it's in such a good state right now, man. And all things must come to an end at some point. It would be so heartbreaking to see it come crashing down because of just money, you know?
Right. I see what you mean, which is very true. So, it leads me to my part 2 question. So my thing is, so we talked about the modern, right? What are your thoughts on the current retro scene of the FCC?
Like in general, or we're talking with ST?
So let's do both. So do general first and then ST afterwards.
I would say in general, I think it's heading in a great direction. Third Strike showing off the way it did at EVO was awesome. Man, that kicked ass.
It did, yes.
I know Capcom is doing a lot of collection re-releases, and that is awesome because the generation that is being introduced to these games now, they not everyone has Fightcade, man.
Right.
As much as it's helping. Not everyone has a PC. I don't even have a PC. My girlfriend has a PC, but that's her PC, I don't even have a PC anymore. Not everyone has access to Fightcade, let alone the knowledge on setting it up, Consoles are still very much a thing. I know there's the whole console versus PC debate, but ultimately, at the end of the day, a lot of people have consoles. And it's good that these re-releases are coming out, and I'm glad that SNK and Capcom are getting along now. We saw Terry and Meyer in SF6, and excuse me, take that as you may. Like some people want to like SF characters, original characters, but it's a good sign. It's a really healthy sign to see that.
Right.
And I think the retro scene is only going to be so big. The fact that Third Strike did what it did, half of it is like effort, and the other half is a miracle. That it was like, did you see the Hayao versus Frankie fight?
Yeah, that fight was amazing.
Yeah, that was incredible, and that's like what you and Afromatic had. That's like the same level of hype.
Yeah,
man. You know what I mean? It's just like stuff like that. Like you can't write it, you can't script it. It's just hype moments like that, and that's what it's about at the end of the day, man. I think that it's only going to get so big, and the instances of Third Strike really blowing up, that's more of like the exception, and it's a privilege. And I want to tip my hat off to the entire Third Strike community, because the reason why they were able to take it that far is that community came together, man. And that is very hard to do with a game as old as Third Strike. It is so hard to do that, to get everyone on the same page and be like, let's make this as big as possible. That's kind of going into my next point with ST. So right now, man, Super Turbo, it just is, I can't speak for other countries, but right here in North America, it just feels very broken apart, man. It feels very segmented away. I don't travel as much as I would like to. The last time I traveled was in 2021. I went to Texas, and that was fun. I had a great time out there. I didn't go out there with any real goal of like playing in a tournament. I just so happened to come when they had like their monthly going on.
Right.
But I went out there because I just wanted to hang out, man. I kind of wanted to do a bit of like an ambassador thing and hang out and talk to everyone. And I did. I talked with everyone, played grab ass with everyone. I met Beltran. Delph showed me around. I met Yuki. I met Jesus. I met Established. Fucking rocks. Oh my God, what a player, man. What a player. Like, him and DGV and Damdai, 3 best reviews I've ever fought. I met some great people, and I just wish we could see more of that. Like, people coming out and hanging it out, and it just feels, it just feels like kind of clicks. Right now with Super Turbo, man. And that's just not the way you're gonna expand the game. Super Turbo's never gonna die. Let's be very clear here, man. It's never gonna go, man. It's like dropping a nuclear bomb on a cockroach. They're gonna find a way to live. I kind of feel bad for comparing Super Turbo to cockroaches, but you see the analogy here.
No, I do.
In a perfect world, I would like to see egos be put to the side, and everyone kind of doing like what Jazzy's does for Third Strike, the Jazzy's event, and kind of blow it up. But it's not really up to me, man.
Yeah.
And then on a more personal level, man, like I'm so good with the game. As of right now, I'm retired from tournaments. My last tournament that I went to for combo breaker, or for Super Turbo, was combo breaker. And it's nice having that in my backyard. It's even closer now. I relocated to Schaumburg, Illinois, and it was in St. Charles, Illinois. So now it's even closer to the city. And I'm at a privilege that it's so close to me. And I took fifth. And especially playing Feilong, man, I can't go to tournaments expecting to like win if like that level of passion and commitment isn't there the way it was in 2019. And to be honest with you, right now it isn't, for various reasons, personal and ST related reasons. But two ways didn't read. I would like to see the ST community come together more in a very platonic, amiable way, and see like how far can we take this if we actually all work together and blow this game up.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're right about one thing. I mean, I think I would like to have like something blown up for ST. Something so similar to like what the Jazzy circuit did. I mean, it did years ago when it came for the Tournament of Legends, especially with the circuits and everything. So that was awesome.
That was awesome.
That was a good time to do that. I think something will happen, to be honest with you. I mean, nowadays they still have the tournaments that's happening and everything like that. So it's been like pretty awesome at this point. And I would say, in terms of what you said, like it's pretty segmented. It's kind of true, because I think one of the biggest things that's happening right now is the disclose. Well, one of the biggest thing is like, cabs versus super gun, pretty much like accessibility. And
definitely.
And I'm like, I remember I had like, I definitely had past guests before, and I talked about it, and I told them, and I remember one of them feel like accessibility is the way to go, because you have more people to join, and you don't want the game to be very inclusive and then just be like, oh well, we just gatekeeping because this is the way how it's supposed to be played on cabs without any modifications. Which to me fair, personally, if it was me, I wouldn't want to mod my cab with any sort of enhancements in terms of saying, hey, I'd rather see this guy play on his stick or on his hitbox on my cab, because that just doesn't look right. But the other thing is, I feel like I do like the idea of having new people to play. I just don't like the idea. I just don't like the idea of how people go about it, in terms of like, oh well, they feel like they need that because of the whole, I would say it with the wholehearted, because of the whole Chris G situation with the Third Strike Jazzy finals that happened in Texas. And that stemmed.
What happened? I'm not aware of this.
So basically what happened was, he was in finals. I believe he was playing Dr. Steelhammer, and basically the stick kind of went out because the down back was not working, basically. So usually with Texas, especially with free play, they have your techs that does like on-site support and everything like that. So they felt like, he basically gave up a set because of that situation. And now he was trying to tell them that he didn't give up, just down back was not working. So it kind of sparked the conversation between, if it was on his own stick, it wouldn't have happened. Or basically, if they had instead of playing on a cab, they play like super guns because it's more reliable. They feel like it's more reliable. And you just bring your own stick, that none of that would have happened. And I'm like to myself, while that may be true, and I feel like they could be right, I feel like at the same time there's all parts of that's wrong, because what if that happens on your stick? Because then you're gonna face the exact same situation that happened then. But the difference is,
I've had stick malfunctions in tournaments before.
Exactly, but the difference is, it's not like, the store tech is gonna come by and fix it. You have to shell out money to fix your own stick. I just think there was that. But I just don't like the idea of saying, oh, the game is gonna be gate kept because I'm not open to have new people to play. Like, I'm all for having new people to play. I just don't feel like if I'm gonna like include some undamned ports on my cab, just because I rather have more people that plays on other stuff. And I'm a firm believer in playing what you like, playing what you're comfortable with.
Me too.
I just feel there are certain games that you don't do that for, and ST is one of them.
You're saying ST needs to be played on a cab or a super gun?
No, I feel like it's to be naturally played on the cab, because I feel like it's just like the right way to play. That's how I feel like.
Let me ask you this: Do you our set that we had at CV 2019? Do you ever wish that set was played on a cab?
Oh yeah, easily. I feel like cab wise, it changes. I think it just changes the whole dynamic. That's what it is. It just feels like when I play on a cab, it feels like I am in the Japan arcade just playing ST, the game I love, on a cab. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like one of those situations. I said to myself, man, I really enjoy playing this on this cab because it just feels natural. That's how I felt.
It does feel natural. No, I agree with you. It does. For someone who grew up not playing on a cab to actually playing on a cab, it does feel like you're playing ST the way it was, the way the Capcom gods intended.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, it makes no difference either way. I'm very comfortable on my stick, and I'm comfortable going to a cab, provided that it's operated and it's been taken care of and whatnot. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter if you're on a cab or if you're on a super gun. Shit's gonna happen. That's just how it is, man. It's technology. It's just gonna happen. Sometimes at mundane times, and sometimes at opportunities or times where Chris G turned you down back in the middle of a fight.
Yeah.
And it's just gonna happen. It's just the way it is. Unfortunately, it's never gonna be perfect. What I would like to see is just the only middle ground I could think of is it's going to be on cabs, and if it's going to be on cabs, and let's just say there's a controller player, there's a slot for them to plug in their controller on the cab without any latency or whatnot. But that requires a bunch of logistics and someone with the tech smarts to be able to install that and a bunch of steps. But that's the only way I could think of like a true middle ground being able to get reached. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because then the cabs are there, and if someone wants to play. If someone just, for whatever reason, refuses to use that cab and they want to use their own stick, well, they can. I don't think, to be honest with you, man, I don't ever think that's a problem that's ever going to get solved, honestly. I think that's always going to be ongoing, just by the nature of ST, and how old it is. I think that the people that really want to play ST like that, and they really want to compete at the highest level with it, I think they will find some way they need to switch or get better. Fucking DGV was playing on a SNES pad his whole life, and he went to play with a stick. I learned how to play the game on pad. I eventually went to a stick, so I saw the writing on the wall. If I go to Japan, I'm screwed.
Right.
There's always going to be people who refuse to budge on that, and I'm not really sure what to say at that point. But like I said, the people who actually want to get competitive and become there's not really any pro ST, but if you want to get as good as you can get and become professional at the game, then that's the step you got to take, man. You gotta learn how to play on a cab. Mm-hmm. And if someone refuses to do that, I'm just kind of like, it's not so much that I'm speaking for me personally. It's not so much that I'm not trying to be gatekeeping you. It's just brutal honesty. It's what I told you about, you need to know how you got there in the first place. It's just if you don't understand the challenge you have and you don't want to get with the program, then you're just not going to succeed at it, man. It's just the brutal reality.
Yeah. Well, you're right. You're definitely right about that, bro. That is the reality. I hope we do find a middle ground. I feel like we did. I feel like there is, because there is more options out there to play on good hardware. I mean, the Mister is out there, which is fantastic hardware, and I feel like there's plenty of ways to play, but I do hope like there is a middle ground in terms of that. So you're absolutely right about that. Okay, so we reached to the end. So I just have like pretty much two questions for you. So one of the questions is, I know you said you retired, right? So you're retired. Yeah. So you're retired from competitive play, right? So pretty much what's the future looking like for you then?
As far as FC goes, right?
Yeah.
I definitely want to go to Japan and play out there, and whatever form that looks like, sure, man. It's got to happen, man. It's a rite of passage. You play Super Turbo, you gotta go to Japan.
It's true.
I want to go out there. The only way I'll come out of retirement is if it's gonna sound really broad, but like I would honestly need the reason to like actually come to a tournament. I don't see one right now. The problem with CB 2019 is I achieved what I had set out for, and that really like resolved a lot of the ambition that I had. I wanted that trophy, man, you know. And when I took 5th at CB 2022, I realized that I'm like, man, I just don't have the same heart that I have in this tournament that I had back then. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was like personal reasons or like I don't know. It just wasn't there. And you know, like if I don't know, like if you're working out and your body gets tired and you gotta listen to your body, I was just listening to my body. It was like, you know, it's time to like, you know, take a step back here for a minute. I would love to see like another Fei Long come and like do better than I did. I would love to see that. I would love to see another Fei Long come in America and start kicking ass and just break all these records and just take him further than I have. I don't have any ego with that. That would make me so happy. I would love to meet someone like that. That sounds amazing. And it kind of goes back to what you said about the accessibility of the game is when you lower the barrier of entry, there's more of a chance of someone coming in there and doing that, you know?
Yeah.
But for me to actually like come out, like if there was like a tournament of legends, I would consider that. If there was like some big gathering for the game, I might consider it. You know, it really depends on where the direction the community takes and overall sentiment. You know, at the end of the day, man, it's a video game, and as I get older, there's more things in life that become more important than Super Turbo.
Right.
And if people, you know, there's people that are much older than me that are widely invested into the game, so I think that's awesome. But I just, you know, before we got on the call, we were talking about how much I've been working the last couple of months, and I just don't have any energy at all to play a game or invest myself in that. And even on my days off, I have so much going on where I just can't play the game. But if a reason presents itself and there's a really good opportunity, and you know, if some big names pop up that want to play, like, you know, when Mao came to Chicago before CB22, if Mao were to come and if Mao were to come again and you know, just want to run back, I'd be like, fuck yeah, Mao, let's do this, you know. If a bunch of Japanese players came, or a bunch of European players came, and like kind of like how the Cali players came in 2018, and they came to combobreaker, I might have to come back and defend our turf. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, you guys can't just walk in here for free. But you know, other than that, man, I've really accomplished about going back to what Arshad told me about what Noguchi said, about how Noguchi said he felt like he accomplished all that he could.
Great.
With Fei Long, he pushed the qual. I kind of felt like I've accomplished all that I've needed to personally for competitive ST. And I just have no joy in playing online, man. I don't know how you guys do it. I think playing ST online is agonizing. it's very playable and it's very useful for people who have no scene. Like if they live out in the middle of the boonies, and this is how you get your ST fixed, that's awesome. And it goes back to what you said about accessibility,
Right.
where more people can play it. But it's just not for me, man. I hate playing that game online. I can't react to shit. Things stutter. Even with some local guys here, if they want to play online, I'll do it, but I can only do it for so long, and I just find it so like dissatisfying. We're really spoiled to have the scene that we have here and the cabs that we have here that are very well maintained. And like I'll be playing that, and my mind will think back to that. And I'm just not it. I play online.
Mm-hmm. I see. Well, I feel you on that. I just normally am numb to the online sometimes, so I feel what you mean. So
yeah, it's fucking ball torture, man.
I believe it. All right, so I appreciate you being on here. Do you have any? I mean, I'm really happy, and the lore that you have spit is pretty awesome, and it's
Thanks,
definitely
man. I appreciate that.
It's definitely everything that I expected and then some. So, you have any shout outs you want to give?
Cool. Let's see here. I would like to give a shout out. I mean, I got to shout out the Chicago ST scene and Logan Arcade. Archvillain, Hood Pope, Bonky, Butter Toast. They're really the main guys that we have really been pushing this scene since the inception began in 2015. Like our first setup was an upright cabinet with half parts, American parts, and we were playing on that, and we started on that until we finally got our heads ahead at Logan Arcade. I want to shout out those guys. I remember they've grown so much. I remember when they first met me in 2015, 2016, I was whooping them all. Like, it just was ruthless. And now it's to the point where like those guys, when those guys catch on fire, I cannot take a single game off them. Hood Pope, he won with his Chun-Li in Frosty Frostings 2020 before the pandemic happened. He kicked my ass in that tournament. He knocked me the fuck out of winners. He beat me 0-3, and he ended up winning that thing. And I was really proud of him. So they've all put in a lot of work, and I'm really proud of them. I want to give a shout out to this weird guy named Megaman. I don't know, he's kind of sketchy. He's really questionable dude.
Yeah.
He coerced me into coming into his podcast. I don't know how he did that. No, but seriously though, man, I want to thank you, and that I know you take a lot of pride in your hobby while playing this game and going through your own demons with ST. And it was just a fucking pleasure having that fight with you at CB 2019, man. It was just amazing, honestly. Yeah, I already gave a shout out to the three gentlemen that passed away. It's a reminder of, the interests that we take up, the people that put work into it and they passed away, that we may never have heard them, but, their legacies live on. I want to give a shout out to Mars Gotti. I haven't spoken to him in a while. But every time I talk to that guy, it's always a good conversation, and him and I went back a lot, going back to the HDR days. And I don't know, is he in New York or is he in Philly?
He's still in Philly, so.
He's in Philly? Okay.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to Damn Die. I messaged him on Discord when I was wrapping up my ST, when I was retiring. I messaged him. I thanked him because I played on 2D Fighter when that was still a thing. I don't know if you ever got a chance to play on that, but I definitely played more on 2D Fighter in 2007 than I did GPO, and that was like my first foray into playing competitive ST. And that was awesome, and it was a good introduction to seeing these crazy players, man. That was I want to say that was the first real way I played ST online before HDR came out. And aside from the whole player thing, I really want to give him shout outs for I'm just doing that, and all the everything he's done, all tournaments that he's won. I know he's inspired a lot of people, and I haven't really played him much offline, but him and I fought a lot online, and he always gave me like a bar to go to. He always gave me like something to like aspire to.
Right.
Having like that goal, like who you got to beat. Shout out to DGV. Again, he hasn't been around for a while, but DGV, if you're listening, man, you gave me sending his damn die. You gave me a lot to look forward to and a big bar to set. I'm probably gonna wrap up the podcast being like, I should have gave them a shout out, but that's all I can really think about at the moment, man.
Well, I appreciate that and thank you. Do you have any sort of social media where folks can follow you at? I
nuked all my social media in 2020, man. I nuked my Instagram, my Facebook, my Snapchat. I have a Twitter that I haven't logged on in years, and the only reason I was using it to begin with was I was trying to get a PS5 when they were being sculpted. And I was trying to following all the restock pages, and once I got my PS5, I never logged on Twitter again.
Right.
The only thing I have is my Discord, which let's see if I can see what my profile is. Yeah, it's just Jigglynorris. Yeah, if anyone wants to add me on that. But no, I nuked all my social media. I'm a very private person, regardless. I only I'm on a podcast with you because I know you and we have history. But other than that, I'm a pretty private person, man.
Yeah, it's true. It definitely is true. But all right, well, I appreciate that. Appreciate you for the transparency. I will put your Discord name in the comment section,
cool.
So people can follow you. So. Once again, thank you so much for being on this episode.
Oh, for sure, man. I wish we could dab up. I wish I was there, but we have to settle for the 5,000-mile handshake.
Yeah, exactly. 5,000-man handshake. Appreciate that. And everybody, thank you guys for watching, of course. And tune in to the next episode. So,
peace, guys. Watch the next episode.
Yep, and that's pretty much about it. So I shall catch you guys later. So peace out.